Today, we've got a nice peek behind the curtain for the goals and aspirations of conservatives for our society when it comes to retirement. My name is Brittany Page, and this is the Page Perspective. The peek behind the curtain comes from Ben Shapiro. You know him, the conservative political commentator, co-founder of the conservative outlet, The Daily Wire. Notice I did not call it a news outlet, and famous Logic Bro. Ben has some thoughts on retirement, specifically whether we should raise the retirement age and whether people should retire at all. This is a popular topic right now because a recent Social Security trustees report suggested the future financial status of the Social Security program in this country is at risk, with funds expected to be depleted by 2034. And it's important to note that this does not mean payments stop. It means that Congress needs to act. And when it comes to solutions to this problem, you have Democrats who say, quote, "Our job is to expand Social Security so that every senior in America can retire with the dignity that they deserve, and every person with a disability can live with the security they need." And then you have Republicans who say, no. The solution is to cut the benefits or raise the retirement age. And you saw it during the Republican debates during the primary where candidates were asked how they would handle this issue. And one solution they love, raise the retirement age. And Ben Shapiro agrees. For an in-depth look at the conservative view, let's hear from Ben Shapiro on retirement.
And let's be real about this. It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. It's totally crazy. Joe Biden, if that were the case, Joe Biden should not be running for president. Hey, Joe Biden is 81 years old. The retirement age in the United States at which you start to receive Social Security and you are eligible for Medicare is 65. Joe Biden has technically been eligible for Social Security and Medicare for 16 years, and he wants to continue in office until he is 86, which is 19 years past when he would be eligible for retirement. No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have some sort of health problem. Everybody that I know who is elderly, who has retired, is dead within 5 years. And if you talk to people who are elderly and they lose their purpose in life by losing their job and they stop working, things go to hell in a handbasket real quick. But put all of that aside, just on a fiscal level and on a logical level. When Franklin Delano Roosevelt established 65 as the retirement age, the average life expectancy in the United States was 63 years old. Today, the average life expectancy in the United States is close to 80. It's totally insane that you believe that you should be able to work from the time that you are essentially 20 to the time that you are 65, which is a 45-year period, pay in, and then you will receive Social Security benefits sufficient to support you and your family, you and your wife or whatever, for like another 20 years. That's crazy talk. That is not fiscally sustainable. The notion that if you have to raise the retirement age to 67 or 68, that everyone is going to fall apart. My parents are that age. My parents are not retired. And they shouldn't retire. It would be very bad for them to retire. By the way, it's disrespectful to people who are 67, 68, 69 years old to suggest that they are in the same shape as people who are 65 were in 1940. It's not true at all. Have you met a 65-year-old lately? 65-year-olds are not old in the United States. They're not. 68-year-olds are not old in the United States. Again, Joe Biden thinks he's not old, and that dude is running for president again, and that dude actually is old, and he's 81. I failed to see how a country in which our entire leadership class is 80 plus is telling you that we should have a retirement age of 65. It makes no sense at all.
Several things. First, the lies, specifically the lies about life expectancy and how Social Security and retirement age actually works. He says, today, the average life expectancy is close to 80. Let's look at that a bit more closely. Looking at this recent article from Stat News, quote, "The life expectancy of men in the U.S. is nearly 6 years shorter than that of women, according to new research published on Monday in JAMA Internal Medicine. At least partially as a consequence of over 1 million COVID-19 deaths, life expectancy in the U.S. has declined significantly over the past few years, falling from 78.8 years in 2019 to 77 in 2020 and 76.1 in 2022, undoing over 2 decades of progress. This puts the country far behind its wealthy peers. Countries such as Japan, Korea, Portugal, and the UK and Italy all enjoy a life expectancy of 80 years or more. Countries such as Turkey and China also fare better. This fall-off has become a key issue for the Food and Drug Administration. The picture is especially concerning for men, whose life expectancy is now 73.2 years, compared with women's 79.1. This 5.9-year gap is the widest between the two genders since 1996. So it might be more honest to say the life expectancy is nearly 80 for women, but not for men. And then, of course, we have his comments about the retirement age. He says, the retirement age is 65, and he's either just lying to his audience or innocently conflating retirement age and the age at which you become eligible for Medicare. I'll let you decide. I think we all know that I think it's the former, but you become eligible for Medicare at 65. The retirement age, on the other hand, let's turn to CNBC for this. Quote, changes enacted in 1983 have gradually pushed the full Social Security retirement age up from 65 to 67 over a 40-year period. If you were born between 1943 and 1954, your full retirement age is 66. If you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. The full Social Security retirement age gradually increases from 66 to 67 for people born between those years. So again, he's just wrong on basic facts here. And can I say, just as an aside, that I continue to enjoy how Ben is recognized by conservatives, at least, as a paragon of debate and logic when he continues to rely heavily on anecdotal evidence in his arguments and consistently contradicts himself. I'm talking about anecdotal evidence like everybody I know who is elderly who retires is dead in 5 years. You heard him say that, right? Or he said something like the notion that if you raise the retirement age to 67 or 68, people will fall apart. And he said 65-year-olds are not old in the United States. Now, forgetting that we already addressed that the retirement age has increased from 65, these are the same kinds of people who make the argument that Biden is too old to run for president, while Donald Trump is young and spry, even though they're 4 years apart. They can recognize that some people who may be of the same or similar age can be very different. And yet he makes such a strong statement. 65-year-olds are not old in the United States. Some 65, 66, 67, 68-year-olds may not be ready for retirement, Ben, but others will be, because people are different. And this may be the most important point for you to get. The people that you know personally do not represent the entire population of people on Earth. So please stop generalizing your personal experiences to the rest of the population. And while there's a lot more I could say, I want to focus on this statement from Ben.
Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have some sort of health problem.
Frankly, I think retirement is a stupid idea, says the rich guy who has attained a level of wealth that affords him the work-life balance and flexibility that allows him to live under the impression that he could do what he does for the rest of his life. Retirement is stupid, says the guy who's not punching in at 9 a.m., punching out at 5 p.m., working more than one job to make ends meet, figuring out how to maximize the few hours of sunlight left in his day when he gets home from work, day in and day out, for years, for decades, juggling taking care of and seeing your family, seeing your friends, exercising, making healthcare appointments, making meals, sleeping. God forbid you find time for your hobbies and things you enjoy when your survival is the thing that must come first. Most people get what? How many good vacations a year is the average American worker getting? And all of the things that would contribute to this average American worker gaining more autonomy and freedom and flexibility in their life, things like investments in funding for childcare, paid leave, affordable housing, rent control. Ben Shapiro actively opposes it and encourages his audience to vote for people who will decrease funding for those things. Ben Shapiro can't even get on board with feeding hungry school children free lunch. And there's a huge difference between Joe Biden making the choice to run for president at his age and someone who has worked their entire life, reaching the end or near end of their life, and still being forced to work because the Republican Party would rather see people work until they're dead than expand Social Security benefits. And I know that I briefly talked about a Democrat solution to this, so let's jump back to that for 1 second. Quote, "The legislation that we are introducing today will expand Social Security benefits by $2,400 a year and will extend the solvency of Social Security for the next 75 years by making sure that the wealthiest people in our society pay their fair share into the system." Right now, a Wall Street CEO who makes $30 million pays the same amount into Social Security as someone who makes $160,000 a year. Our bill puts an end to that absurdity, which will allow us to protect Social Security for generations while lifting millions of seniors out of poverty. Are you seeing why Ben Shapiro would rather raise the retirement age? He'd rather go full Scrooge McDuck and protect his very large pile of money than the average American worker. It's that simple. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call, leave a voicemail at 657-464-7609 or send an email to idoubt@dollemore.com. You can support my work by becoming a channel member. In fact, let's thank those beautiful humans who recently became channel members for as little as $1.99 a month, making this work possible. Thank you to James R., AK Syndrome, and Nolan R. Thank you so very much for your support of the show. Please share this video with someone you think needs to hear the message. Take care, and I will see you next time.